It was a crisp autumn morning when Elizabeth Carter, one of America's wealthiest women and CEO of a Fortune 100 tech company, stepped out of her black Cadillac Escalade and into the stillness of Greenwood Memorial Park in upstate New York. The golden leaves danced around her boots as she walked slowly down the narrow path. There was a chill in the air, but she hardly felt it. Today marked 5 years since her son, Andrew Carter, had died. Her only child. Her everything. To the world, Elizabeth was a powerhouse, flawless suits, unshakable confidence, the face of innovation and success. But here, surrounded by rows of headstones, all of that fell away. Here, she was just a grieving mother, trying to feel close to the boy she had lost far too soon. As she approached Andrew's grave, something unexpected stopped her in her tracks. There was someone else already there. A young black woman knelt beside the headstone, her arms wrapped around a little boy who couldn't have been older than 6. The woman was crying softly, her shoulders trembling with emotion. The boy looked confused but calm, clutching a small bunch of white daisies. Elizabeth stood frozen. She had never seen either of them before. The woman whispered to the child, "This is where the nice man rests. The one who helped us." The boy leaned in closer, resting his head against her shoulder. Elizabeth cleared her throat gently, not out of anger, just enough to announce her presence. The woman turned quickly, startled. Her eyes widened when she saw Elizabeth. "I'm sorry," the woman said, hurriedly wiping her tears. "We didn't mean to intrude. We'll go." "No," Elizabeth said softly. "Please, you knew my son." The woman's face twisted with emotion as she nodded. "Yes, ma'am. Your son changed my life." Elizabeth's heart skipped. "How? Please. I'd like to know." The woman shifted slightly, still kneeling on the grass. "My name's Jasmine Miller. And this is my son, Caleb." Elizabeth knelt down beside them, the ground cold beneath her knees, but she didn't care. 5 years ago, Jasmine began, her voice trembling, I was at my lowest point. I was pregnant, broke, working double shifts at a 24-hour diner just outside Albany. I was living in my car, hiding from my ex who'd gotten violent when I told him I was keeping the baby. My family, they turned their backs on me. Said I was making a mistake. Elizabeth's breath caught. She glanced down at the boy, Caleb, who now looked up at her with big, curious eyes. That night, Jasmine continued, I was barely hanging on. I was hungry, tired, just trying to make it through one more shift. That's when Andrew walked in. He didn't look like anyone special, just jeans, hoodie, backpack. Ordered a coffee and sat at the far end of the counter. She smiled faintly through her tears. He watched me, not in a creepy way, just, like he saw something no one else did. After an hour, he asked me if I was okay. I lied and said yes, but he wasn't fooled. He said, you don't look okay. You look like you've been carrying the weight of the world for too long. And then, he left me a tip. Jasmine paused, swallowing hard. It was $1,000. Elizabeth's eyes widened. I ran after him, Jasmine said. Thought it was a mistake. He just smiled and said, that's for your baby. You both deserve better. Then he walked off into the night. Elizabeth pressed a hand to her heart. A week later, Jasmine continued, a lawyer came into the diner. Said Andrew had sent him. Gave me a check to cover a year's rent, prenatal care, groceries. No conditions. No questions. Just, help. She took a breath. I didn't even know his name until I saw the news about the accident. I recognized his face immediately. Elizabeth remembered that week vividly, Andrew's tragic car crash on a winding mountain road in Vermont. No drugs. No speeding. Just black ice and bad luck. We come here every year, Jasmine said, tears falling freely now. I wanted Caleb to know who gave him a chance. Who saw us when no one else did. Elizabeth looked at the small boy beside her, alive, healthy, beautiful. A living legacy. Is Mr. Andrew your son? Caleb asked softly. Yes, Elizabeth whispered, barely able to speak. He was. Caleb walked over to her and wrapped his tiny arms around her waist. The hug shattered something inside Elizabeth, something that had been locked away since Andrew's funeral. She knelt down and held him tightly. After a long, silent moment, Elizabeth looked up at Jasmine. Thank you for telling me this. I always worried he left this world without leaving something meaningful behind. Jasmine shook her head. He didn't just leave something behind. He saved us. They sat together in the grass, trading stories about Andrew. Elizabeth spoke of his love for books, how he used to rescue stray animals and dream about building schools in underserved neighborhoods. Jasmine told her about the struggles she'd faced, the nights she'd cried herself to sleep in a parked car, and the incredible relief of finally being seen and helped, no strings attached. In the months that followed, Elizabeth stayed in touch with Jasmine and Caleb. She visited them in their small apartment, brought gifts, read bedtime stories. Not because she felt obligated, but because, with them, a piece of Andrew was still alive. Eventually, Elizabeth offered to help Jasmine finish her education. Jasmine, fiercely independent, resisted at first. But Elizabeth insisted, not as a billionaire handing down charity, but as a mother honoring her son's spirit. With Elizabeth's support, Jasmine enrolled in college. She majored in social work, determined to give others the kind of lifeline she'd received. Caleb flourished in school, bright and thoughtful, just like Andrew. One afternoon, 3 years later, Jasmine stood on a stage in a cap and gown, holding her college diploma. Elizabeth sat in the front row, tears streaming down her cheeks. This is for you, Andrew, Jasmine said into the microphone. And for you, Elizabeth. You believed in me when I couldn't believe in myself. After the ceremony, Caleb ran up to Elizabeth and threw his arms around her. Grandma Liz, he shouted joyfully. Elizabeth laughed through her tears. That name, Grandma Liz, wrapped around her heart like a warm blanket. In the years that followed, the three of them became a family. Not bound by blood, but by something deeper, love, kindness, second chances. Every year on the anniversary of Andrew's passing, they visited the grave together. Not just to mourn, but to celebrate the life that was saved because of his compassion. And every time Elizabeth looked into Caleb's eyes, she felt her son smiling back at her. In a world that often rewards power, wealth, and speed, Andrew had chosen empathy. A simple act in a quiet diner changed a life, and in doing so, changed his mother's as well. Because kindness, real kindness, is never forgotten. It lives on. In hugs. In second chances. In boys named Caleb who carry the heart of a man they never met. And in mothers, like Elizabeth, who find healing in the most unexpected places.